Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. As per popular request, and the majority of you actually thinks that this is an interesting ship and you would like to hear more about it, the Florida, the brand new Tier 7 premium American battleship. Now, we have done a lot of American battleships relatively recently, that's why I was kind of asking. This is yet another one. The Florida, well, how am I going to put this? The Florida didn't exist. Now, there was an American battleship that it was named Florida, but that's not this one. This one is what was supposed to be the North Carolina. So within the treaty limits, the Americans were trying very hard to, well, find a way to make something that has firepower, is fast, and is well armored. And as the saying goes, you can only pick two, really. So while they were still operating within the treaty limits, this was actually the chosen design. This was the design number 16, I think. And she was supposed to have 356mm or I think 14-inch guns, because that was more or less what things were all about. It was a bit crammed in there due to the 35,000 tons displacement limit. Trade-offs had to be made in terms of armor and everything else. And they did make trade-offs in terms of armor in order to get a bit more speed out of these things. But then, well, the Japanese decided that they were no longer feeling bound by the treaty. And also the Italians were coming up with the Vittorio Veneto class. And everybody basically agreed that 356mm 14-inch is not really enough. So they upscaled to, they invoked the escalator clause, they upscaled to the 406mm or 16-inch, I think, and ended up. Don't blame me if I get it wrong with the inches. I'm sorry, I don't really speak American inches, but anyway, you know what I mean, right? So we got the North Carolina that we do have in the game with the three triple turrets. Now, this design is what we would have gotten if everybody had stuck to the treaty, and that's what we're seeing here. One thing that probably stands out, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, because that is rather unusual. These are quadruple turrets. And yes, the Florida was supposed to have 3 quadruple turrets of 356mm main guns. I think they are actually split, similar to what the French have been doing, because it looks like like you can kind of see it there. It looks like these are actually two distinct sections, such that if one gets taken out, you still have half the turret able to fire. Of course, that's not a mechanic we have in game. Turret gets taken out, you lose 4 guns. But yeah, 8 guns forward and 4 backwards. So yeah, that's a lot of firepower. She has, well, she's not super well armored, and again, this was one of the trade-offs that were made for the North Carolinas. That in return she's a bit quicker, and she is, with 26 knots, definitely faster than the Colorado at Tier 7, and she is, well, not super maneuverable, but decently so. The guns, as mentioned, 356mm L50s. Now I think I'm not 100% sure if the New Mexico had 45 caliber length, but we'll have to check. But this is definitely a different turret, obviously, because it's a quad-barreled turret. So we've got 12 guns all in all, 22-second reload. It's a little bit on the slower side. 14.2 kilometer range is very good, although you do tend to not hit very much at this range. And the traverse with 4.5 degrees per second is on the slow end of things. We do get the ever so reliable 127mm secondaries. There's nothing really hugely surprising here. And she has a pretty reasonable amount of AA, which is also not really surprising for an American battleship. So what's special? Now, traditionally, the premium American battleship line trades the rapid reload for precise aiming. And that exactly is happening here as well. We do get the precise aiming system, and we actually get an AA defense, which is by itself pretty unusual for American battleships, because I don't think any of the other American premiums is getting an AA defense. So if I'm looking at the West Virginia, She gets the precise aiming. If I'm looking at the, well, Arizona's probably a bit early, but if I'm looking at things like the Massachusetts, she gets the precise aiming, and I think the Alabama, which I don't have here, actually gets that as well. Now let's have a very quick look at the New Mexico and at her guns. Where are we at? No, these are actually L50 as well. So these are pretty similar to the New Mexico's guns. Let me quickly check if these are not upgraded. Let's do that very quickly. Oh no, I actually did guns and fire control. Okay, so we have the guns at fully upgraded on the New Mexico. Let's just put these next to each other. So let's say tier 6 and 7, such that we can kind of quickly compare those. So on the Florida, we actually have less overall damage on the Florida than on the New Mexico, which is surprising. It's really not something you would expect, but we do have a much better range and a slightly better turret traverse. But yeah, the New Mexico actually hits harder with these guns. But they're triple turrets. Otherwise, other than that, yeah. All right. Let's yeah. So defensive AA is not something that you normally get. That's where we were. Air defense alert is not something you normally get on American battleships, which makes her a little bit awkward as a captain trainer. Because if you do pick the AA defense skill, then you're kind of, not really something you can use on any other ship. But the precise aiming is kind of just a standard thing. I actually have the artillery plotting room in here for range. Now, I would have liked to have the precise aiming, but that module is not available. So this gives us extra range, both on the primaries and on the secondaries, which is good if you are if you're bottom tier, because you're in tier 7, so you're going to go up against tier 8s, and you occasionally may want to actually fight at range. So this gives her a really reasonable range. And I do have the propulsion mod in slot 2. You could very well also go with the deck protection mod for better fire and flooding resistance. Or, for example, with the air defense, if you want to go with an AA build. So there's a great deal of flexibility here. I'm personally more on a battle cruiser setup. Third slot goes into steering. And that gets us to these values. Now, the commander, I have set him up with the AA defense expert. But if you are if you're planning not to have a dedicated commander for the ship, but share him with, let's say, if you have other American premium battleships and you have the precise aim focus, then you probably want to take Victorious Charge instead. It's up to you, really. She's got four precise aims. You don't really need an extra one of it. And because you do need to take the marksman skill over fully prepared, he's not actually really suitable for the mainline American battleships either. And yeah, down the road, you probably want to do, and well, APCS is the one skill that you're really looking for. Now, having the New Mexico's guns, a little bit less good than the New Mexico's guns, at tier 7 initially feels a bit weird. And they are not extremely punchy, but you do get the occasional citadel with these guns. And I tend to play this ship, due to her improved speed, actually a lot more aggressively, and tend to try and find flanking positions in this, rather than at long range. Especially if I'm top tier and I'm up against tier 6 ships, you can do a frightful amount of damage with these guns. So she's a really interesting middle ground between the firepower from tier 6 and kind of the speed that you would get at tier 8. And the armor is kind of more towards the compromise level here as well. What last thing we have to look at, historical camo, is just your standard stuff. Standard battleship historical camo. So nothing really surprising here. The dispersion would be really nice, because it is difficult even with 12 guns to get shells on target at range. Battle honors, unsurprisingly, are simple. You got to play 10 battles and destroy 2 enemy battleships for 2 steel. And that's what you get for your investment. All right, let's get into a game and play a little bit. We are bottom tier on Cage Epicenter mode. And what's it on the enemy team? Colorado Synop. It's a tier 8 game, but I think there's only one. Yeah, there's only one destroyer in, and one actual tier 8 destroyer in the enemy team. So it's mostly really a tier 7 game. York, Shores, Aki, and Sims, and 3 enemy battleships. So Epicenter in American battleships, doable. In Japanese battleships, probably nicer in my opinion. In German battleships for sure. But you can still position around the outer ring and get something done, and try to control the outer 2 rings in these kind of battleships. Now again, the premium battleship line is more on precise aiming, dispersion than on rapid reload. So it's not the sling a lot of shot down range things. Then we're gonna head over to that little island there and then see how things develop and where the enemy team's positioning. I can use this to cover against any torpedoes coming from the center, and if I need to disengage, I can use the island as a little bit of cover as well. Miyoko goes extremely aggressively to the center. That's usually not very wise in a Japanese cruiser. And the Aka goes not to the center at all, but actually seems to be trying to go around the thing. Okay, Aka has found the Sims. I'll let him play with that. This is not something that I can do very much about, because at this range you really can't hit anything with these guns reliably. I don't have anything else to shoot at, but there should be something coming up over there-ish reasonably quickly. Unfortunately, having the Sims over there means that I'm going to get spotted. So my original plan was to stay undetected behind this island, but this is not really going to work. Okay, enemy Synop spotted, almost 14 kilometer range, precise aim out. Let's see what we can do. And yeah, as expected, it's the Sims that keeps me spotted from over there. Okay, York is on the flank. 4 hits, 3,000 damage, not great. Well, but we're sitting here. Are we taking return fire? Yes, we're starting to take return fire. But the Shores is still, the Synop is still sitting there broadside on. And I think they have partially hit that island. So, second salvo out. 2 hits. See, this is what I mean. Okay, Sims is coming a little bit uncomfortably close here, so I'm just gonna angle in towards the Sims, see if I can get some shots at the York at this point, because the Sims doesn't look like he's rushing me. He's probably dropped torpedoes from a distance. So at this point I might have to actually deal with the torps. Let's put her in reverse and see where these torpedoes are going. At worst, I'll take 1 or 2, but there shouldn't be too much. If there even is anything come. Oh yeah, there they come. Okay. Yeah, I don't know where you were aiming, buddy, but that's not where I'm going. Yeah, I'm not even worth torpedo beats for that one. Okay, but yeah, like I said, now with the range module, you do have range quite far. Oh, broadsiding Shores, shots out, but again, 12 kilometer, almost 13. We're probably not going to get too many shots on target. 3 shots on target. So this is why I'm sailing with the with the more aggressive battle cruiser setup with the propulsion mod in slot 2, so I can actually relocate, because she is quick reasonably. If we're going full speed, then we'll try that out, because we're standing here, we're not going to be doing anything at this range. We're not going to be hitting much. Okay, that wasn't bad. 8 shots onto the Shores, but that was 1 out of what, 5 salvos or 4 salvos. So we're going to relocate. We're going to see if we can loop around the edge here, because we are holding the center right now, and the rest of my team is clustered around in the outer ring, and it's just 1 destroyer and me who are kind of a little bit closer here. So we're going to try and see. First customer is going to be that York there, and he's not even looking at me right now. 5.4 kilometer torpedo range, so that's what I have to watch out a little bit for. But yeah, even at this range, I can get half my shots on target. So you definitely want to get close in this thing. And so now we're going to bait the York out from there. We are giving broadside to all manner of battleships, but no one's shooting at us right now. Come here. Come here. We want to turn out a little bit. I am in torpedo range, but he doesn't have angles. I'm pretty sure he cannot shoot. He needs to turn, and if he's turning, he's dead. Okay, he's turning, and he's dead. And now we're just going to go full speed, because there's a Nagato coming around. Okay. So one move that I really enjoy doing, and it doesn't always work, but sometimes, is the crossing the T. And the Nagato is reasonably quick. I think actually we're having a similar speed. What I'm going to try, it's probably easier in something like a French battleship, but I'm going to try. First of all, I'm going to hammer the Nagato from here. Now, as you can see, again, these shells don't do a huge amount of damage, but you do get an awful lot of them. And being fully angled in, the Nagato isn't going to do too much to me either, because he actually doesn't have to hit me. But I mean, at this range, it's not going to matter soon anymore. So we are going into an all-out brawl here. But what I'm going to try is get across his bow section, because he's just dodged all those torpedoes. Well done, well done. Although I think he took one. But we are on similar health, so I'm going to try and come and pull across his bow section and outrun his turret traverse on the other side. We'll see if we can pull that off. Now, if he's smart, he's gonna turn left. But I think he left it too long to realize. And at this range, even my reasonably puny guns, just in sheer numbers, are going to hurt him pretty badly. And this isn't completely clean. This is a little bit awkward, but I think I should be able to outturn his. Not completely, but here we go. Yeah, he's starting to lose. He's starting to lose focus here, and he's dead. Because I managed to get around him. Okay, so that's the Nagato brawl to death. And well, what's left? 2 destroyers, and these 3 over there look reasonably damaged. So there's the Sinop over there again. I think that was one of the more dangerous players. Is he going forward, backwards? He seems to be just torp dodging. So precise aim, shots out. Yep, he's definitely shooting at me, but he's firing high explosive. Okay, he's moving. I should have led it a little bit more. He's all over penetrating. Okay, don't want to be on fire right now, even though there is a Shores, but Shores is not shooting at me. It's just Sinop. And I do have a heal coming off cooldown. So I am going to damage con that single fire and hope that I can get rid of the Sinop before he's causing something like triple permafires. But you do have a very reasonable amount of... no, he's still firing high explosive, but he's missing. He's underestimating my speed. I'm quite a bit faster than your average tier 7 American battleship. Okay, Sinop's dead. He's going to run to all those torps. So I'm just going to see if I can deal with the Shores on the quick, because he's going to be firing high explosive as well, and he's probably a lot more dangerous. That's sorted out. That's the Shores dead. And let's just leave these 2 destroyers on the enemy team that are bimbling about and playing with our battleship somewhere outside the capture circles. So, yeah, we're going to win this on points before I even get back into the cup. But, yeah, the Florida, she's an interesting ship, I must say. She actually works reasonably well. She's not... I don't feel like she's overpowered for tier 7, because the guns are really very reminiscent of what you have on New Mexico and actually do a little bit less damage. But she is quicker. And that just gives you more options. It gives you the capability to relocate a little bit faster than you were on the standard battleships that you normally have on the tech tree here. And you're not in tier 8, so you're not facing tier 9 things. And you do occasionally come out bottom tier, and against things like Romas or Bismarcks or stuff like that, you really have to keep your distance. But if you get a chance and you can actually get into a brawl, she does pretty well. And you can do the occasional Citadel on plunging fire as well at long range if you actually get anything on target. But don't let the precise aim fool you and think that this is a long range sniping battleship. Maybe if you put the historical camo on, that might work better. And but I personally like to play more with the speed on this thing. And might even be tempted to try that out with an actual speed setup in slot 3 instead of the steering, but it gets a little bit awkward at that stage with the steering. So, interesting ship, interesting middle ground between the Colorado and the North Carolina, and I mean it is a North Carolina prototype really. So yeah, that's not a bad ship actually. Yeah, if you play her correctly, if you expect a long-range sniper, you're probably not going to be super rewarded for it. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.